Good evening. Welcome to the Nameless Hour podcast. I am Tier, here joined with Weed,
Heyo.
Skrewed, and we have a new guest today. We actually have a member of the Nameless community who joined the podcast team a little while back ago, has joined us today with today's episode, which is our sixth episode of our first season. Penguin, go ahead and introduce yourself. Tell us a little bit about you and what got you interested in coming up on today's episode.
Hey, my name's Penguin. I got introduced to Nameless through UR Rocket League, like most people have. I got signed to Pittsburgh Phantoms, represent. Goofy was my HEM, and so he got me into this, and so just shout out to Boofy as most people have. But yeah, Nameless has been great. UR Rocket League has been great, and just happy to be here with all these great guys that I've met throughout Nameless and UR Rocket League.
Well, Penguin, we are absolutely ecstatic to have you here with us tonight for tonight's episode. Just a couple other things. Weed, you have not been with us the last couple episodes. Or, I'm sorry,
I just
last
said, yeah,
episode. The
I
last
missed last
episode.
episode,
You
yeah.
weren't with us. How have you been since the episode? How have you been since then, buddy?
I've been doing actually really, really good. I missed last episode as I am working on a very, very difficult and long
That it
process.
is.
So I had to focus on that heavily, which is why I missed last episode. But luckily, I'm able to have some time to get on today's.
No, we're glad to have you here. Screwed, you were with us the last couple episodes, man. You were with us last episode. We talked a lot about a lot of emotional stuff, shared some stuff from, our lives and our past and some of the pathways that we've walked in life that have turned us into the people that we are. How did you feel after that episode?
Well, it's a lot to take in. It's a lot to talk about. I'm very vocal about what I've gone through and to help other people kind of get through what they've gone through. So it was a lot of, I wouldn't say it's a lot of fun, talking about heavy stuff like that. I'm hoping for a little bit of a lighter episode here this time around, maybe something a little less emotion filled, but it really was a great experience. And I'm hoping that, anybody out there, if we help just one person, it's completely worth it. So absolutely, it was a good time.
I'm actually glad you said that. So I don't know if you've been told. I have talked to Boofy and some of the other project managers and stuff that are involved with the Nameless Hour podcast. So after that episode went live, I actually had, I want to say, 4 or 5 people from the Nameless community that reached out to me personally and decided that they had watched the episode and it actually had reached them and they were able to connect with the things that you and I were talking about. And I got to sit and talk for a good amount of time and listen to these people and listen to their stories. And granted, as hard as it was, like I know it was for you and I know it was for me talking about the situations that we've been going through, but hearing their stories, being able to be there for them and, being able to be that shoulder to lean on and somebody for them to just vent to, that spoke more to me. And that's why I love that we started this podcast. That was one of the things that I wanted to do, was to be able to reach out and help people, and not always having episodes like that. You know what I mean? Not always having to dive deep into those emotions and, talking about serious situations like that, but being able to actually help somebody and be there for them and try to help them through those situations that they were going through, knowing that that one episode was able to do that, even if it only reached a few people. That means the world to me, man. And we got nothing but commemoration from that episode from a lot of people. And I was really glad to see that. But
You
I'm
know,
glad you said that.
as a nurse, that really makes my day. Every day I see people who are going through so much worse than I am, and it's really nice to hear that. Like I said, if even one person was affected enough to go out and get the help that they need, or just to talk, or even start the process, it was worth it. Every single what felt like 3.5, 4 hours of talking with you guys. I know it wasn't that long, but we definitely pushed the limits of our editor. I was editing that episode going.
Oh, editing that episode, it was rough. I'm not gonna lie. I did the video editing, but Gabe did all the audio. But it took some time. But now that I know how to kind of help with that editing side, we're able to push out episodes a little quicker. So it's kind of nice actually. But yeah, man, like you said, I mean, just as long as we're able to reach some people and be able to connect with people and help them, because I mean, that's not going to be the only emotional episode we have. There's so many more aspects regarding like mental health and stuff that we can dive into. But today, that's not what today's episode is about, now is it? So
Not.
I just want to do a little bit of a shout out for that, and especially to those people if they see this episode, we're so glad you guys reached out to us and just understand how much that means to us here at the Nameless Hour podcast that you came to us and were willing to talk to us and knowing that we were able to reach out and be able to reach you guys through our episode. It means the world to us. And that's why we do this. But today's episode, so we're going to be talking about music today. All right. I am not a master musician or anything like that. I don't know how many of us here actually play instruments. I'm pretty sure Skrewed, you do, don't you?
I sing. I don't as much play instruments. I fiddle with instruments now. I used to play trombone and most of the brass instruments, but now I kind of gave up on that and focus solely on the voice. But my son actually wants to do trombone in band this year. So I'm excited to get to help him get through that and teach him how to do that. Doing it in 7 positions, there's nothing like that.
Nice. And Weed, you said you used to play instruments?
Yeah, I used to play guitar for a little while. And then once I started working pretty heavily, I more or less gave it up.
I'm not gonna lie, that's one of the hobbies I want to pick up here soon is I want to start learning how to play the guitar. So
I mean, like the thing behind you?
that's actually, hold on, you're gonna
Looks
laugh.
like, wait, that's
Yeah, Guitar Hero.
It's
That's a Guitar Hero. Yeah.
It's the Gibson one.
Yeah. I noticed, after I said it, I was like, wait, that's way too thick of
When
a
we start doing our live stuff, we're going to have like a Guitar Hero thing.
Guitar Hero
absolutely.
sesh would go crazy.
Some of the things we're going to be talking about tonight, we're going to be talking about music in general, some of our favorite songs, maybe genres, things that we've been listening to recently. Actually, one of the topics that came up that would be interesting that I think is going to be kind of interesting for us to talk about, some of the best game soundtracks that we've heard. So that should be pretty interesting. We're also going to kind of dive a little bit into nostalgia when it comes to that kind of music, because we're going to talk a little bit maybe about music, how our music taste has changed as we've gotten older compared to when we were younger, when we're going through middle school, high school to now. How much has our music genre changed? We're also going to talk about maybe some memories, some moments that we had throughout our schooling, whether it was music related or maybe just memories we had. We're going to talk a little bit about that. We're also going to talk about this is a very specific topic, but apparently how the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds album changed the music industry by miles in just one release. So,
I won't really be talking too much about that one because I have no idea
topic.
about it. I wonder who gave that one.
Let's go ahead and dive in here. So when we talk about music in general, obviously we know that music in general has changed so much we could just say within the last 15 years. And that's honestly across any genre that you think of, whether it's country, it's hip hop, rap, R&B, soul, anything. It's changed a lot. I mean, you're talking about, early 90s to mid 90s, you had, Eminem was up there and he kind of shifted the rap game quite a bit. And then we got into the 2010s going into the 2015 time frame where it started turning into that kind of mumble rap. And now what's actually weird is we're kind of starting to see that transition back into that 1995 between 97, 98 era. We're starting to see rap kind of transition back into that. Now, it's not all of it. You still have a lot of these rappers out here that just have no reason being on the mic. But you're starting to see some of these artists that are coming out and starting to transition kind of back into that meaningful rap that people like Eminem, Ice Cube, and some of these guys were the focus group of, and you're starting to see some of that coming back. Same thing with country. I've noticed that country, we could say easily from 2009 up through 2018, 2019, country was just all the same shit. It was more country rock than anything. But now you've got people like Oliver Anthony, and you've got some of these other artists that are coming out, and some of them that haven't even hit the billboards yet. Like if you scroll through social media, I got a lot of these people that pop up through my Spotify, and there's like Zach Bryan. You're getting a lot of these artists that are coming out now that are
What's the big dude with the tattoos? What's
Jelly
the big
Roll.
dude with the tattoos? Jelly Roll, yeah.
Jelly Roll, yeah, Jelly Roll. He's another one, but they're bringing back like that original aspect of that pre 2000s country music, where it the music actually meant something. You know what I mean? But we're seeing a huge shift, I think, here in the last couple of years, and I'm hoping it continues in that shift because some of the music that's coming out now is actually bearable to listen to.
Like since we're on the music topic, someone that like all of a sudden popped off was Oliver Anthony with
Hmm.
Richmond, North of
Richmond,
Richmond.
north of Richmond.
Now that song is like I live in Virginia, so it's like wow, that's it hits kind of home
Yep.
because you really do notice there's a massive housing difference alone. Once you actually do get north of Richmond or in the Richmond area in Virginia, like the housing difference everywhere around here is a lot of apartment buildings or smaller homes. Richmond itself and other areas are way more popular and expensive.
So, and
So,
I've actually been really curious about that change too. You know, how we've transitioned from something that's less substantial to something more substantial in the lyrical content in the music
Hmm.
itself. And I have a theory, and it goes back to things that we've kind of touched on in prior podcasts, events in history that changed the world, going through something like COVID. People had time to stay in, work on their music, think a lot. Psychologically, it changed a lot of us. So because psych and music are so closely related, and those feelings and those experiences now come out, and we see that in music. So I think a lot of these, because of what happened with COVID and all of the world changing in such an instantaneous manner, similar to how wars have done in the past, the influences of Vietnam and the musical content post Vietnam. Now we make jokes that CCR is like, the music of the Vietnam War. Well, they came out with their music because of the Vietnam War and those
Yep.
political ideas and changing ideas. I think COVID is the reason why we see this huge change again in, what music means to people.
No, I completely agree with that. I think you're right. The shift in the world between everything that's happening between Russia and Ukraine, everything that's happening in the Middle East, and now even that's happening here on our own soil, between Republicans and Democrats and everything else that's going on with the presidential election coming up, you're seeing a lot more genuinity when it's coming to music. You're not seeing people that are just trying to release these albums trying to make a quick buck. You're seeing people that are actually putting their hearts into their music again. And like I said earlier, Zach Bryan, Something in the Orange. I don't know if you guys have heard that one. It's amazing song. Amazing song. Beautiful song. He's got a few others that are out that are extremely good songs. And there's even newer artists that are coming out now that typically is not necessarily something I would listen to, but I've caught myself listening to because it's decent music and you can actually connect and feel what they're trying to say. Is the best way to put it.
Yeah, absolutely, and it goes back to like the last episode when when you guys were talking about mental health, like, and then music is like a great outlet for that mental health, and it's like great, like artists can use that as a healing process, and then people can relate to it that way. I know, like one of the bigger artists I listen to is like Ronnie Radke for Falling in
Hmm.
Reverse. He talks about like his childhood trauma and like his mom was an addict and left them, and just about how that had affected him in his life, and not necessarily that it's relatable, but that it's real, and like you can just connect to your emotions by his emotions and situations, so that it just makes you feel more grounded as a human being, like that, like this stuff does happen, this stuff is real, and kind of makes you feel again, pretty much.
or like with Morgan Wallen and Last Night, a lot of people are like might not understand the song, but it's like this dude found like someone that he loved and had wanted to be with when he was drunk, and all of his friends were like, "Hey, she's not worth it," and he's like, "No, I want to be with her," and so it's more emotional and affectionate with music nowadays. I feel like that's really what's kicked it off. It might not be so much like life experiences, but emotions and feelings. I've really like kicked off the music industry nowadays.
Oh, absolutely. 100%. I mean, I don't know about you guys, but I think most of us, and I think most people, when they're going through things, when they're going through whatever it might be, it could be, loss of a friend or loss of a family member or, even loss of a relationship. A lot of people turn to music. And especially it could be older music, could be even some of this newer music coming out, like you said, like Morgan Wallen. You've got Zach Bryan. You have actually different genres than that. You've got I Prevail, Hailstorm.
Hmm.
Fit to Be Kings. You've got,
Soldier is a really good shout.
Citizen Soldier is a great one. Actually, I'm glad you said that. So Citizen Soldier actually just came out with a song, and I don't know if you guys have heard it yet. It's called Burden. And let's put it this way. It's one of those songs I wish I could send to my ex, because this is one of those songs that's like, if you know somebody that has been through shit and has been through, where it's hard for them to communicate, hard for them to talk about what's going on or what they're feeling, and we all know somebody that's like that. You know, this is the song to send them. And if you haven't heard it, I highly advise that you go listen to this song. It's probably one of my most played songs that I listen to. I absolutely love this song. It's only been out, I think, since Friday. I think is when they actually released it. But it's such a great song. And I highly advise anybody after the episode, I highly advise you guys go listen to it. It's such a good song. It's so powerful, so moving. And it's pretty much he's just trying to speak to you, but like singing this song is like in a way of you speaking to that person as well. Just saying, no matter what you feel like, no matter how much of a burden you feel like, you're not a burden to me. And I'd rather you talk to me than watch you drown in your own misery kind of thing, And it's like hearing that song, I was just like, holy crap. I was like, and like you said, being able to connect, I was like, man, I wish I could send her this song and just be like, hey, like, listen to this shit and, pull your head out of your ass. But
I noticed how you were talking about like the difference in like the music industry and how it's changed. What about individual artists like Nickelback and how they've completely changed what their, I guess not even, I guess genre and how they play.
You've got a lot of artists that are doing that. I mean,
even Eminem, you mentioned
Eminem has too.
Eminem is beefing with himself. He's won every beef that he's ever had. Now he can't find anybody that wants to pick a fight with him. He picks a fight with his old self. It's Slim Shady versus Marshall, man. It's awesome.
I think the reason he's doing that is because when in Trump's first election that he won and he took office, Eminem and Trump beefed a lot. Eminem was constantly getting wrapped up in politics for that entire 4 years. And then when Trump left office, Eminem lost a lot of credibility. Lost a lot of credibility from that. A lot of people lost a lot of respect for Eminem because he's never been a political person. Yes, he has talked about prior presidents and stuff like that, but he's never, gotten into it to a point where he's established what side he walks on when it comes to the political aspect. He's always been that one rapper that stands outside the box and he's like, I don't give a shit about either side, fuck both sides, and I'm going to do what I have to do. You're going to come after me. I'm going to come after you kind of thing, right? Well, when Trump took office, it wasn't like that. He was constantly after Trump, and he lost a lot of respect for that. And now, because of that, now we're rolling into where, like you said, he's at a battle with himself because now you're starting to see kind of the old Eminem, the old Slim Shady coming out. Where he's like, where he's calling himself out, like, what the fuck are you doing? Like, why are you doing this? Why are you sitting here trying to get all political when that's never been your thing? Why are you trying to be political? You're not a politician. What the fuck are you doing? And he's calling himself out, and I love to see it because I've always loved the old Eminem, the old Slim Shady. I'm talking like Marshall Mathers LP and, like the old albums, and it started looking good when he started coming out with like Recovery, and then he came out with the Kamikaze album, and everything was looking good. And then everything happened where he started getting real political, and now he's trying to bounce back from that. He's calling himself out, like, why the fuck was I doing this? And I love it. And like you were saying, was with changing genres. There's a lot of artists that have changed genres. MGK, for example. Granted, hold on. That was partially because of the whole fucking Eminem and MGK shit. We all know that was part of the reason. But
Falling in Reverse, they've changed too.
Reverse is another
they've
one that's
gotten
changed.
super more metal now and coming up with their own songs too, like Ronald.
Oh
yep.
yeah.
Oh, the Ronald
Beautiful
with the surprise with the special guest of Tech Nine.
Yes,
absolutely wild.
And Alex the Terrible.
Yep.
Beautiful song, and I'm glad that they're moving in that direction instead of like something that we talking about here is stuff I used to listen as a kid or when I was younger would be a lot of remixes,
Hmm.
like more like EDM remixes, but metal remixes, things like that was like my big thing because I enjoyed the lyrics, maybe not so much singers individually or like songs on their own, but when people take it and make it into their own style, I appreciate that. Even to this day, I do listen to a lot of remixes, but a lot more EDM and bass heavy music.
Right. See, when I was growing up, going through school, I'd listen to, honestly, I mean, I still listen to a lot of it, but it's changed a lot. So I used to like my like workout with music was classical music. It was like Tchaikovsky, Beethoven, Mozart, and that's what I would listen to whenever I was in the weight room. And I still listen to that sometimes, but not like now. I listen to like Bad Omens, I Prevail, Hailstorm, Metallica, Rob Zombie. I listen to a lot more heavier music because when I'm in the gym, I do like it just, I don't know what it is about it, but my entire focus when I'm listening to music like that is just on what I'm doing right then and there. And I just zone out everything else.
Yeah, I couldn't imagine going to the gym and listening to classic music. Like, oh yeah,
It's not bad, actually. It's
let
not
me
bad.
just bench
Da, da,
375
da,
when I'm listening.
da!
Dun, 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 dun. Dun, 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 dun,
Hey,
dun.
say what you
Dun,
want,
dun,
but the
dun, 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 dun,
1812
dun, dun.
Overture by Tchaikovsky was a
Oh yeah,
great
dude.
banger to
Fucking
lift to.
cannons. You drop the
Oh,
weight
yeah.
every
Canon
time the
D.
cannon goes off. Just go
Yep.
boom.
Yep.
Just doing, shoulder presses. Just
But
I,
yeah, I'd say
that'd be
with
really funny.
I'd say
so
with
when
the
I was
gym.
growing up,
Oh, sorry. Go ahead.
so when I was growing up, I listened to a lot of Rob Zombie, Disturbed, System of a Down, Metallica, some of the heavier
Yep.
stuff. And I swore off. Now I did have a crush on Britney, but it's Britney, bitch. Who didn't?
It's Britney,
It's
bitch.
Britney, bitch. Who didn't? And I loved the heavy music, but then Rammstein, these much more heavier songs. But I swore off of Backstreet Boys. But I I found myself recently when something like Backstreet's Back come on. I know all the fucking words to it. I don't know how, and I do know how. It was because of TRL. Like I would come after school and we would watch TRL and listen to the new music and the thong song and all that fun stuff, right? But I didn't listen to it like on the reg, and then. You'd hear some of these songs that you just absolutely hated come on, and then that comes back to that remembering the times. So I hated these Backstreet Boys songs, but I know all the words. Why do I know all the words? Because it was that influential on my life, even though I didn't want it to be.
Now, you want to know the most influential bar song ever?
Oh God, go ahead.
Sweet Caroline.
Line.
Bum, bum, bum.
Oh God.
You know what song I
what?
heard in the bar a lot, like recently? Like Africa by Toto.
Oh,
Everyone-
I
yes,
hate that
has
song
been
jamming
bad
with
that
a
one.
burning
That has
passion.
been a
enjoy
bad
that.
one.
And
I
Never Gonna
enjoyed
Give
that
You Up
song
have-
before I heard
have
it every time I went to the
exploded.
bar, and then everyone sings
I don't
along,
like her voice. Me personally, I hate her voice. I hate it so much.
When
Are you
at
thinking
the bar-
Shakira?
Yeah, Shakira.
I was thinking Toto.
Toto, yeah, Africa.
Yeah.
Oh, you're thinking like Africa.
Yeah. Okay. Hate it.
No, Africa
Hate
by
it.
Toto. Like, I
No,
guess
I
it
know exactly what you're
rains
saying.
down in Africa, and there's actually a really cool.
Oh.
So the reason why that exploded is not just for the memes, but it was remade by who was the band that remade it? There was a cover of it by Weezer, and then
Oh, yeah.
while they were on tour, Weird Al Yankovic would come out instead of the flute solo
Weird
in the
Al.
original. Weird Al would play an accordion solo for the solo part. It was just absolutely amazing. And then Africa ended up covering one of Weezer's song. I think they did Sweater Song, but it's grown, and I think meme culture has brought a lot of these songs. Never Gonna Give You Up was listed as one of the worst songs ever made, up there with. It was second place only to "We Built This City" by Jefferson Starship. And then now
Which
after
I never
the
understood why
invention-
everybody never liked that song. I never
It's
thought We Built the
fine.
City
It
was a
has to
bad
do
song.
with- but it has to do with what Jefferson Airplane became into Jefferson Starship, and that was the
Fair
problem,
enough.
because Jefferson Airplane gave us such amazing things as White Rabbit. Like, it's an amazing song that is like the epitome of a high, where it builds and builds and builds and then it crashes, and then
Yeah.
they come out with this pop rock sell out, we want to sell album kind of thing, and sure, it was popular and it sold a lot, but it's not a good song. It's pretty cheesy and boring, but it worked. It did what it did, and that's why. What do they say, that no news is good news? Well, even bad news brings you that notoriety. All you have to do is polarize people, get people thinking. They'll talk about it. When they're talking about it, you get clicks and views and likes. So it doesn't matter if people hate it or if people love it. As long as you get one of those two, or better yet, both at the same time, then you got fan bases fighting each other. That's how you do it. You don't want to make something lukewarm. You make something that's either really, really bad, like The Room, or you make something like, the Lord of the Rings trilogy. Either way, you become very popular.
Yeah.
My bar song was Black Hole Sun.
Oh, that's a
Soundgarden.
banger.
Chris Cornell, rest in peace.
Yeah.
He's one of my
Yeah,
legends.
that was my bar song.
No. We had,
My mom was a
so-
bartender, so like even before I was 21, I was like going to the bar to like hang out with my mom. Obviously, I wasn't drinking. Wink, wink. But
Mom slipping
me
you a
and
little
her,
cup under. Here you go, honey.
me and her would
It's
sing.
time for a nap.
We would sing Paul Revere by the Beastie Boys, and we knew it line for line. So like every time I was at the bar, my mom was like, "It's coming," and then next thing you know, everyone grew silent, and it's just me and her like jamming in the corner.
Pearl Jam.
Pearl
Pearl
Jam.
Jam was another, like, because that was my elementary school years, was a lot of like 90s rock.
I wish Chris Cornell and Eddie Vedder, speaking of the two of them, got together for Temple of the Dog, and they toured once and put out one album, and it was just amazing. And before Cornell died, they could never do it again. They toured again, I think, for one more tour together as Temple of the Dog, but it just, when you get two people that are just some of the best in what they do, it's hard to keep that together, those super groups.
Ozzy, I wish he still played.
Sharon! He
I wish.
needed to retire. I mean, like, come on, for fuck's sake, the Rolling Stones. It looks like Keith Richards died 30 years ago and no one told him.
Oh my
I mean,
God.
you're not
Why are they
wrong.
still touring? He's held together by cocaine and hookers.
Hey, some people are held on by less than that and do better, okay?
Fair enough. I think my favorite bar song that I like to play, I really don't have one, but I like to troll people on bars. So like usually I have two playlists that I play. One is about an hour and a half long for like $1.50, and it consists of Appalachian Mountain
Freebird.
Jam, which is a 35-minute song. Pink Floyd
What?
Echoes, which is 33 minutes long. And then I play Grateful Dead off of Without a Net, Eyes of the World, which is like a 28-minute song. So you play those three songs back to back, and you only get a couple. The other thing I like to do is fuck with people. So I got in trouble once. They were pissed at me, but I played "Fack" by Eminem during a family night at
Oh no!
at the bowling alley. And hey, if it's on the jukebox,
Game
it's
on.
free to play.
My wife hates Freebird with a burning passion because of how long it is.
When I worked security for the bar up north, the song we always played at the end of the night after we kicked everybody out, we were closing up the bar, and it was me and two of the bartenders, and we would be singing this song with every fiber of just feeling that we had. Mark Cohn, Walking in Memphis.
Walking in Memphis.
Mm-hmm.
It's a good one. What about
used-
what about odd music choices? So like what
Ooh.
I want each of you to give me what you say is your "I'm afraid to admit to other people I like the song."
Ooh.
What's your guilty pleasure?
No, I gotta find it.
I gotta
I
scroll
like
through my
this.
playlist as well.
Saying that's exactly what I'm
Because
doing.
like I got to the point as an adult where like if I like it, I like it. Okay, now that actually reminds me, because like that rang a bell, is like I listen to K-pop sometimes because my sister listens to it, and like some of it's catchy, and like I wouldn't I've added some to my playlist, but I'll usually skip it if it comes up. But like sometimes when I'm in the right mood, like K-pop is a bop. Like I've listened to like a ton of BTS songs and a couple of others, but like if it feels good in the ear holes, then I'm gonna listen to it at the moment.
Mine is "Gimme Chocolate" by Baby Metal.
Oh, there you
Okay.
go.
It would have been funny if you said Chocolate Rain. That would have been funny.
Oh wait, that's everyone's
banger.
guilty pleasure. That's
That's everybody's
guilty
guilty
pleasure.
pleasure. Everybody likes chocolate rain.
Let me see if I can.
Rain.
Rain. Chocolate rain.
I turn my head away from the mic to breathe.
Weed, what about
Let
you?
me see. I'm looking. I'm gonna find like the worst one, I guess.
All right, well, he's looking then. So I have, and I've actually got 3 different bands that I listen to regularly. So I listen to Fawn, Pictus, and Amon Amarth. These are all
Amon
old.
Amarth. Oh man, I haven't heard Amon Amarth in over a decade.
I like Fawn and Pictus and I've actually seen Pictus live a few times. Anytime I go to the Viking festivals here in northern Indiana, they're playing live, and they always put on such a great show. But I absolutely love their music. I've got all 3 of their CDs that I listen to pretty frequently. Fawn I listen to because it's not a whole lot of vocals. I mean, obviously some songs do have vocals, but it's mostly just instruments. It's drums, it's bagpipes. It's powerful, and it gives you that sense of just not only relaxation, but like it's almost like a rejuvenating feeling as well.
So I found my 2. One of them is "Let It Be" by Too Close to Touch. Just one of the like slower, more sadder songs, but I don't know, I enjoy it. And "Hentai Bitch." Everyone knows what that is. Don't even try
I
to lie to
haven't.
me.
No, I actually haven't
No,
heard
you're
that
good.
one.
You haven't?
I haven't heard that song. I'm gonna have to look it up.
Hold
I don't
on,
know if I
hold
want
on.
that on my computer, but I have to look it up now.
Gonna get put on a watch list.
I'm gonna get some kind of watch list.
There you go, Skrewed. There you go.
Jesus God.
Take a listen to that when you get it. I just send you the link to it. That's definitely a guilty pleasure.
But yeah, there's a
For
lot
those,
of
don't
songs.
judge me for those listening. Don't judge me, okay? It's just a funny song that I listen to.
It's called hentai and it's art.
It's Hentai Bitch.
Oh, okay.
It's crazy how stuff I used to think was embarrassing to listen to is like stuff that I put on repeat now. Like, there was like the stigma back in high school that like emos were weird. So I never listened to emo music, but like most of the stuff that I add recently is like emo music, like listening to Falling in Reverse and like Black Veil Brides and I don't know if like how emo it is, but Dance Gavin Dance. I've been listening to Death of a Strawberry on repeat, like ever since someone like told me to listen to it. But yeah, it's crazy. Like stuff that I would like never listen to is stuff that I scream in my car on the way home from work.
Just for a funny laugh, I sent you a song. I'm not gonna say the name here, but just take it. Just click that song, and you'll.
I have been listening to, actually lately I've been listening to a lot of Joe Jordan. And reason why is because my ex had made me this mouse pad that had Joe Jordan lyrics from his song Big Enough Mountain. And I always love that song. So I was listening to that, but I've also been listening to some of his other music, Frost on the Pines and a couple other songs that he has out. And I've been liking his music recently because it's not fast paced or anything like that, but it's kind of got that like country slash kind of like soul more feeling to it, if that's a good way to put it. That's what I've been listening to him quite a bit lately.
I've been getting into
I just want everyone to know that Fly Penguin is currently listening to the song you sent him.
I was just hoping it wasn't playing too loud through my earphones because like
No,
sometimes
I
you
just
can catch, but you saw the
no, I
reaction
just-
and like that's how you know I saw it.
a buddy of mine got in. I've been listening into things like gent and math rock recently. That my guitarist has been getting me into this band called Pliny. There's a song called Electric Sunrise, and most of the time signatures are absurd, like 5/4, 7/8, 11/8, 13/8, where you kind of just have to either it hurts you as a music major because you're sitting there trying to count the measures, but like if you're just listening to the music, it's just absolutely phenomenal. But when you're trying to like sit there and be like 1 2 3 no, 1 3 what are you doing, and then you just kind of like turn your brain off, you start foaming at the mouth, and it's just like, oh god.
Banking off of that, we started talking a little bit about kind of like our music differences. So I kind of want to capitalize on that a little bit. How much has your music style, like what you listen to regularly, changed compared to maybe what you listened to go, it could be even 10 years ago, to like what you listen to on a majority now?
Let's say elementary school was super 90s. Middle school to the beginning of high school, actually mostly through high school, was a lot of remixes and metal music. Nowadays, it's just bass head music. I have a sub in my Ford Ranger now, and I crank that shit.
That's exactly
Dude, I know it. No, it. Yeah, no. I want to find a bass boosted version of that and just. I actually hold on. Is there one?
Do you have a fan sub? Do you have a fan sub? Have you seen those? So a fan sub is it's a fan, and what it does is to get the crazy low hertz that you need for some of the songs. It's a fan, and each individual blade turns, so it turns like this, and it creates it just with sheer air pressure and not actual like a vibration of a speaker. Oh my god, they're the most absurd things ever. They
No,
rattle
I have
everything.
I have one 18-inch sub that's in a single cab Ford Ranger.
One
So it
one sub.
already
How many DOMs do you have?
you're in words that I don't know because it came with the truck.
Nobody picked up on that.
No, it's just it rattles the truck and it's fantastic and you can hear it from like a
Weed, you
block
have to think
away.
about what he said. He said you have one sub. He asked how many DOMs you have.
Just me, daddy.
Oh,
There you go.
ooh.
But yeah, I'd
I
say like as a kid, I grew up in like a pretty urban area, so I listened to a lot of rap. And then
look
as I
at
grew older,
you.
I moved to where I'm at now, and like it's more woods, more sticky, more rural. But I never liked country, so I did not pick up on the country. So I went to like rock and heavy metal, and then that transitioned to like just listening to the bass and the drum part of songs. Because like I've always like listened to the main rhythm of songs, and then um, my mom told me one time, she's like, if you ever heard a song without bass, it would sound like the worst piece of crap you've ever heard. So like I started like turning it ear to towards bass. So like any song that has like the like good percussion like in the bass and just good rhythm, I'll turn my ear to. But like that's what got me into liking the emo music because they have really good instrumentals and stuff. And like I love like just belting out like smooth vocals. So I don't listen to screamo, but like I will enjoy it. But like I like songs that I can sing along with. But yeah, just the evolution to go from rap to like the heavier metals and just metal in general, stuff like
I used to
that.
fall asleep to like death metal. It was the weirdest thing and people were really
Wake
confused
me
about it.
up.
Like it's
Go to
comforting
bed.
in
No,
Go
it
to
ways.
was
bed.
like
Go to bed.
heavier than that. It was like Eat Spit by Sludge Puppy. Yeah, that was like things like that, things on that level of like heavy, super heavy death metal. I would listen to like normal music, whatever rock throughout the day, and then when I was actually trying to go to sleep, I don't know why, but it knocked me out. Just straight up death metal. It was the craziest and wild thing that I just did for a while.
So growing up, my music influence, so early 90s, it was mostly like what my parents listened to. My mom listened to Ace of Base and Ricky Martin and stuff like that. And my dad listened to more like singer-songwriter, Peter, Paul and Mary and that era of music. Then I discovered rock, and I went into like Disturbed, Shinedown, System of a Down, all the straight out of Seattle bands, like Stone Temple Pilots and Chris Cornell and things like that. And then my very first two albums that I ever bought, because my brother bought a million CDs. I never buy any. My first two albums I ever bought, though, were a Best of Blue Oyster Cult and a Beatles One album, which was like their newest
Ooh.
anthology. And then since then I started to buy more and more, and then I got into more like Disturbed and System of a Down, Ozzy, Pantera, Slayer,
Hmm.
Metallica,
I
Rob
still have one of the
Zombie.
records.
My
Pa-
my one of my oh you do nice.
Pantera. I have a Pantera record
Oh
still.
yeah. My friend has one signed by Dimebag. Coming back to like Rob
Ooh.
Zombie, one of my favorite stories about music is my neighbor was his parents were very religious, very very religious, and when they discovered that he had this Rob Zombie album, they burned it in like a Christian ritual burning to like purify the spirits in the CD. He just went out and bought another one, the next day. But like it was weird. And then I went into college, and then my knowledge of music exploded because I went for music. So we studied world music and different cultural music, and I studied more classical and opera and things like that. And then I just expanded. I started to like rap more and more. I'm not a fan of mumble rap. Well, you mentioned that earlier. The rapping is shit, but by God, some of those beats are amazing.
Oh, absolutely.
Like you hear this awesome like bass drop, and then the rapper comes like, and they're like, "What are you doing?
Yeah.
Get off the mic!"
Every time someone says Rob Zombie, all I can think about is when Nardwar went up to who, a rapper and was like, "We have a Rob Zombie poster for you," and he went. Every time someone says Rob Zombie, I think of that like moment with Nardwar.
Nardwar is a brilliant man. Could you imagine if he was like a detective? There wouldn't be any criminals on the street.
I just want to know how he actually does get his information, and no one will ever know except for him.
You were talking about going up to like current and going up to people and like showing them like posters and shit like that. So I remember seeing this video a while back ago where they were asking. I don't remember if you remember when Post Malone and Ozzy Osbourne did that song together. Okay.
Wait,
Hmm.
what?
Yeah,
Post
Take what you
Malone and
want.
Ozzy
Hold
Osbourne
up.
did a song together. It was a great song.
beautiful
People,
song.
they were going out onto the streets and asking people like, "What do you think of the Post Malone and Ozzy Osbourne song?" And they were like, "Oh, Post Malone just made Ozzy Osbourne into who he is," and da 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 da. And listening to this, I was like, "What?"
Huh?
Oh, Travis Scott's in it too.
Yeah, but so yeah, they did a song together. It's a great song, but it literally made me feel like an old man when people were like, "Oh, Post Malone just made Ozzy Osbourne famous overnight with that song," and da 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 da. I'm like,
Y'all not know
Do you
who he
remember
"Do
is.
you not know
when
who
Tool?
Ozzy Osbourne is?"
Wait,
Like,
yeah. Did you see when it was on the same day Tool released their newest album in like a decade, and Taylor Swift released an album, and like all the Swifties were pissed that Tool had the most selling on that album fight, and all these people were like, "Who the hell is Tool?" And they're like, "Oh, who's this new band Tool?" And all the Swifties were like freaking out that they lost.
Like they're not new. They've been here a while. It's
and
all
they're
the
like that
boomers
with
that
a
love
lot
them.
of bands. Like it was like, who was it? It was somebody that just came out with an album recently.
Well, the reason why, while you're thinking about that, like no one really knows about music too much anymore is because it's all influenced by social media and what people post on there.
No, absolutely.
They don't really go out and like. I
Granted,
mean,
there's some benefits to that, though. I mean, don't get me wrong. Social media has introduced me to a lot of like bands and stuff.
oh,
Like years ago, that's
absolutely.
how I started listening to like I Prevail and Bad Omens and some of these other bands that I actually really like, and I like their music. But like you said, it's also influential because you kind of forget about some of these bands that started it all. Like I remember that I was working the bar one night and a Queen song came on. Everybody's like, "Who the hell is this?" And I was
Wow.
like, "What? Like, what? Like, God,
That's
you're making me feel
blasphemy.
old."
Then again, it's pretty hard.
Queen is
Like I don't really
cool.
know. I don't know how it worked really back then, but how bands really like kicked off. And it was more live shows and maybe things on TV, but
Producers.
how
I can actually tell you
yeah.
that answer. So back in the day, it started off with producers and studios where they would hold, open auditions. They would get singles that people recorded in their basement. There's actually a really good recording of Nirvana. They call them the basement albums, where they recorded it on one of those old metal. You remember the metal boom
The
boxes that people
big,
held? They're called
yeah,
they're called Nirvana the boombox mixes, and they sound absolutely horrible, like raw, uncut. It's just
raw
straight
files. Yeah.
Nirvana playing in a basement with like one microphone. And they sent it in to this dude, and he's like, "I'm gonna make these kids famous." They didn't want to be famous, but that's not the point. And when they brought him into the studio, when you hear the difference between like Teen Spirit written and recorded on a boombox versus like in a studio, it was all the producers. So the producers went out and found people similar to how Eminem was found by Dre. You know, Dre back in the early 90s was everything. Nowadays, people produce songs typically on Spotify or YouTube. It goes viral, and then producers pick them up. But prior to that, it was all studio work, and you either worked as a studio musician for a long time, and then people decided to give you your own shot at something, or you send it into a studio, and the studio has like all these interns that listen to really bad music all day long. All day long. Imagine having to listen. You know that dude on the street corner that hands you his CD that wants
Yeah,
you to
his
give him
CD,
money, but
yeah.
Imagine listening to those albums for your job, 8 hours a day, 7 days a week. That's what these interns were doing. Some of them weren't even paid. And then when they found something, I was like, hey, this sounds kind of good. They would give it to the producer. The producer would listen to it and then contact the person. And that's how people became famous back then. Now it's completely different. Everybody has an opportunity. If you go onto YouTube or Spotify, it's changed a
Like
lot.
what we're doing.
Nudge, nudge, wink, wink.
Well, think of some of the people. Well, think of some of the people that have also become famous. But when you hear them without, all the sound editing and everything,
Jojo
they sound
Siwa.
terrible.
JoJo. Sorry, I'm saying it. That's
Friday,
gonna
gotta get down on Friday.
that's gonna piss people off. But JoJo Siwa, can't stand her.
Can't say I've
Wasn't she on
partook.
that dance show and then became an influencer, and now she's trying to sing?
And without auto tune, she sounds like a squealing pig. Yeah.
There's a lot of that.
Because I was gonna say, I feel like a lot of music nowadays is produced for its like clippability. Like, how can I get like 12 million people on TikTok to use my audio? So it's just like I just get these like few moments of my song, and then the rest is kind of just like, how can I get back to this clippable part of my song? And that's just the whole thing. And
Well,
it's
that's what
kind of
happened with
weird.
Oliver Anthony. He
Well, that was actually good.
he wasn't. Well, yes, but it's no different with his story. That's happened with a lot of these people. Oliver Anthony, he wasn't making that music to share with others. He was singing it with his family and everything, and he happened to be in the original video, which the video that went viral on TikTok wasn't the original video. The original video that was actually uploaded to Reddit was him just standing out in the woods on his property, and he was just out there singing, playing his thing, and his buddy took a video on his cell phone and uploaded it to Reddit. And then that's
How the
when
hell have we been going for 49 minutes? Pause. How
Pause.
the fuck how have we been going for 49 minutes? That's not.
I definitely thought that music was going to be one of those topics that
That
could
is
drag on for a while.
insane. Gabe, I'm telling you this. I know you're going to hear this. I'm
He's
sorry.
gonna hate us all. He's gonna hate us
Because
all.
we are not even
Motherfucker,
like we're not
bastard.
like this is very episode 2 feeling right now.
yeah.
So
This is very episode 2 feeling right now.
So I have a question then. You're talking about virality and things like that. How do you guys feel about gimmick bands or shows? So like Kiss was kind of a gimmick band. Guar. So Guar is a gimmick band. Goblinomicron's a gimmick. Weird Al, I don't know if you would call him a gimmick and just a separate
100%.
kind of style, but he would be up there. Like, how do you feel about these gimmick bands who they're kind of like a one-trick pony, and they're famous for, wearing these costumes or whatever, but it's not necessarily about the music, it's about the performance and the show as these characters. Do you think that...
Well, we can't really classify Kiss in that then, because Kiss, yes, they had the crazy outfits. Gene Simmons, and they had the crazy outfits. I mean, they had a fucking cartoon show based on their characters, and they had superpowers and all this shit. All right,
Yeah,
but
they
they
did.
had good music. Not all not all of it was
Yeah.
good, but they had a lot of good music. So I really can't classify them with like a lot of these other gimmick bands because they did have good music. If you're thinking about that and you're talking about that, there's a lot of bands I could fall under that gimmick style that really got noticed for it wasn't just because of their music, it's because of their style. I mean, Slipknot is one of them.
Yeah.
Slipknot would be technically a gimmick band then because I mean, yes, they had music, but
It's the
they
gimmick version
didn't
of
get
Stone
popular
Sour.
because of their music. They got popular because they looked like a bunch of demonic monsters on stage, with their masks and shit. But people start realizing they actually do have good music. It's good music. But I don't know. I think some of these gimmick bands take it a little too far. But you have those gimmick bands that were iconic, like Slipknot, Kiss. You could even, yeah. Hollywood Undead could be considered a gimmick as well.
Ghost.
Ghost, yeah, that's another one. But
Maybe even
some of
Rob
these
Zombie.
Marshmallow.
You might argue Rob
Marshmallow
Zombie.
would be technically another gimmick.
Marshmallow?
Yeah,
Yeah.
Marshmallow,
Buckethead?
absolutely.
Buckethead, yeah,
Buckethead?
but a lot of these
Like
guys,
Buckethead has that skill.
yeah, but a lot of these like quote unquote gimmick bands though, they were iconic. They thrived in their era with yes, they had their outfits and their costumes, but they thrived because they had good music. But you do have some of these gimmick bands that are out there that just have no reason to be as famous as they are.
That's a lot of people too, like individual people. They don't really have anything really worth providing, but yet they're incredibly famous and everyone listens to what they say. And it's just like, why? Like JoJo. I don't
You
understand
really
it.
hate her, don't you?
I
Good
hate,
Lord.
dude, she is so annoying and can't dance, can't sing, needs like a whole team of people to try to like correct her audio because it's just bad.
You're like the way you say JoJo is just dripping with hatred and anger. Like JoJo.
Fucking Joe. Mojo Jojo. The Powerpuff Girls.
All right.
But yeah, I'd say
here's
the
a
gimmick.
here's a lightning round question for y'all. Name your best game soundtrack.
Oh,
Uh,
Nobuo
fuck it.
Uematsu. Anything by him.
No.
Final Fantasy.
No.
Final Fantasy 7.
Fucking where is it? I have it
Or 6.
saved.
Or 10. Or 15.
I can't say
Is
that
it
I
Siren
have.
Song? No.
I can't. I don't have a single game soundtrack because
Although Toby
whenever I
Fox
play
is up
games,
there.
Yeah.
I like.
Sierra Song, Legends of Zelda.
Okay.
I have that as a remix saved by Charlie Pereira Del Rigo. Actually, really good. He does it on like an electric guitar. In the beginning, he doesn't start with any reverb,
Which
and then
song
he
is
adds
it?
it later on. Sierra's song, Legends of Zelda. I'll have it by Charlie Pereira Del Rigo. Rigo, whatever it is.
Oh, okay. I know that one.
Do 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 do. Do 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 do.
No. If you're talking Zelda, though, you have to go Gerudo Valley. Gerudo Valley, dude.
Yes.
With the clapping and the maracas and do-do-do-do, 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 do-do-do-do.
But Sierra's song is so like known. I mean, yeah, known, but it's like
But I
it
mean,
encompasses.
You're also talking about Koji Kondo, which he did Mario. This is a guy who defined the soundtrack of early video games. Koji Kondo pioneered the idea that you could turn an 8-bit sound chip into something miraculous. And
Or the OG Kirby soundtrack.
oh, Kirby's music goes hard.
It does. The boss battle fights. Oh my
And then you get into things like
honestly
Biggity Buck
surprised.
Bumble.
Because don't get me wrong, I agree with what you guys are talking about, but I was surprised because one of the ones I expected to hear first was the Halo 3 soundtrack.
Halo 3
Yeah,
soundtrack is
that
good.
can't. Yeah, it can't be beat.
I
Like,
was
Halo's
honestly
Halo, but-
expecting that. Honestly, I was expecting somebody to say the Halo
I don't
3
have it
soundtrack.
saved. I just don't have it saved as because there's not. It just I don't know. To me,
But see, to me,
it's
it'd be Halo
very
1. Halo 1.
Yeah, the OG Halo.
Martin O'Donnell is a phenomenal composer, and when you first log in, so if Halo 1 was the first Halo that you were ever introduced to, when you first log in and you have the Xbox logo flying around, then you have the Halo thing is
Yeah.
and it just hits you, and then it comes in with a like that start. That's how you write the start in a title song for
Or Doom,
something. And
the Doom soundtrack.
Doom on the computer pushed the sound cards of computers really, really, really tough.
Oh yeah. So I actually just posted one in our Discord VC chat, and it is from Call of Duty Zombies, the Origins map.
Oh, yeah.
It is 115 by Treyarch.
Oh, that one's sick. Yeah.
It's the one that
115
sounds.
is
It
good.
sounds like from Psycho.
Yeah.
It's like the Psycho theme. It's the theme on the Psycho
Billy
theme.
Freak Out.
What about the
Oh my
weirdest
God.
song you have? Like
Speaking of-
the absolute weirdest, out of pocket weirdest song that you know of. Either you know the lyrics to, or you knew of, or have
Enormous
listened
Penis
to in
by
the
Da
past.
Vinci's Notebook.
Facts. Mine is super
Whenever
weird.
life gets you
down,
and you're wearing, a frown, and the gravy train,
has left you. It's left you. It's left you behind. It's left you behind.
And then they
first
need
off.
to change the word. When you're all out of luck and you don't give a fuck.
Yeah.
That's what they
I
should
have.
say.
This is super weird. It's waffles are better than pancakes, which I agree with. Hold on.
What about
I'll,
what about Ultimate Destiny or what is it? Ultimate Showdown. You guys remember that? Old
Yeah.
Godzilla was hopping around Tokyo City like a big playground when suddenly Batman burst from the shade and hit Godzilla with the back grenade. Godzilla got pissed and began to attack, but he didn't expect to be blocked by Shaq. I used to have that memorized. I had it on a PSP.
I actually
I just
have a
sent the link
playlist
for-
of drinking songs, and I have 3 of the Da Vinci's Notebook songs on there. I've got The Scotsman by Hair of the Dog.
I've done that at karaoke.
The Rattling Bog by Seamus Kennedy.
the Rattling Bog. Oh my god.
I Thought I Farted, But I Shit by Jeremiah Perez.
What?
That's fucking.
You know
great.
what song gets in my head and I hate that it does? It's that stupid song about the guy from Jeffrey Bezos,
Oh, what's his name? Yeah.
CEO entrepreneur, born in 1964.
1964,
Jeffrey
Jeffrey
Bezos. Come on,
Bezos.
Bezos, you can do it.
Yeah.
No, I don't know about
Bo
Weed
Burnham.
and Penguin on this one, but I know if I say this artist in this song, I know Skrewed is gonna react to it. Another one of
God.
those songs that's on my drinking playlist is Tennessee Ernie Ford, 16 Tons.
What do you
I
get?
feel like I've heard it.
A little bit older.
And Deeper in Debt.
I owe my soul to the company store.
Yeah, now that's ringing a bell for me as well. I've listened to that for sure.
Or what about the wailing songs that have become more and more popular now?
What would you do with a drunken sailor? What would you
I've
do?
got both versions of Drunken Sailor, the Irish Rovers and the Sea Dogs.
My Mother Told Me. Is that what it is? I
Yep.
can't remember
Oh,
the
yeah.
song. Yeah.
I've
Or,
also got the Flying Dutchman by the Jolly Rogers.
That's from the reason why those got popular was because of video games. You know, it ties back to the video game stuff. It was Assassin's Creed.
Yep,
Assassin's
Black
Creed.
Flag.
And what's great about Assassin's Creed is they put so much effort into being as historically accurate as they can. And because of the scans they did for the Notre Dame Cathedral, they're able to rebuild it.
Another person
Notre
that
Dame
actually
is only able to be rebuilt because of Assassin's Creed. Isn't that crazy?
That's crazy.
another person that actually kind of sparked the whole like Viking songs. My Mother Told Me, Battle Cries, and all these other like kind of Viking
The
Nordic
Longest
songs.
Johns?
No, Peyton Parrish, who used to be a country artist, did not have a successful country career. And then he got viral on TikTok for singing My Mother Told Me and Battle Cries, and there was a few others that he was singing. And he was also another big reason why like the sea shanty songs and the Viking like battle songs and stuff like that started becoming big was because of him as well.
You know what band I think of whenever, not like because it's necessarily Viking music, but like whenever you say stuff like that, it reminds me of this one band, Sabaton.
Sabaton.
I
yeah.
love them. They got hard music and like they got a lot of, I'd say like World War type
So,
battle songs. That's just
I have videos to show you. I don't have Turbo, so I can't send it. but I have a video of my son singing Primo Victoria at karaoke. And if you've ever seen a 12-year-old sing heavy metal about storming the beaches of Normandy, it's a treat. He sung Primo Victoria. He's also sung the one about the Swiss Guard that protected the Pope as they tried to escape. He sung Red Baron, Bismarck. He loves Sabaton. It's the only band that he actually loves and listens to. So like he'll be listening to Sabaton and all of a sudden Adele's Skyfall comes on. Like those are the kind of songs he listens to. Like he listens to those and then the meme songs, you know, Rick Astley and Africa that we talked about before. But watching him get up there and like there are these old dudes in the audience because this is like an earlier karaoke 6 to 9, and they were listening to the lyrics and like, wait a minute, that's
So
I was there.
talking about karaoke, talking about karaoke and bars and like drinking music and stuff like that. So what is your guys' like drinking song? Everybody has a drinking song, a song that they like to drink to. What's your drinking song?
I don't drink.
I'd say like back when I was in high school and I'd have fires at like my friend's house and just the songs or the band that came up the most was like 3 Days Grace. So not necessarily that it's like a drinking song, but like that just from listening to 3 Days Grace reminds me of like slinging back beers and having fires with the boys back in high school.
Bad Girlfriend, Theory of a Dead Man.
Oh, that's
bad girlfriend.
So I got two songs that I actually like when I was still drinking that I actually used to drink to. Two songs. Copperhead Road and I'm Shipping Up to Boston by Dropkick Murphys.
Oh yeah, that's a classic. Yeah.
I like What's Left of the Flag. I think What's Left of the Flag is the one that I like the most from them. But my favorite song to like drink to, and usually, so if I'm drinking, I'm not drinking alone. I'm usually playing games with the boys or out at a bar.
Swear to God,
whatever.
if you say Sweet Caroline, you're canceled.
No, it is Hypnotized. So if I'm like doing like solo Rocket League or League of Legends, like grinding, Hypnotized Mesmerized by System of a Down. It's the duo album that they released. And you have to listen to it front to back, kind of like Pink Floyd albums. You have to listen to the whole thing. You can't stop it in the middle. You just have to experience the album as a whole. Similar to like how Pet Sounds was. You have to listen to the whole album as an experience. And so I think Hypnotized Mesmerized was one of my like favorites to just like listen to and play games alone. But nowadays I'm mostly on voice chat with people, so I'm not really listening to music while I'm playing games and stuff.
No. So I do want to ask you, Skrewed, because you had put up that topic about the Beach Boys' Pet Sounds album. So I want you to go into a little detail on that. What did you mean by... You said that album changed the music industry by miles with just one release. So I kind of want you to elaborate on that a little bit.
Okay, so I'll give you the short because there are like docutorial dissertations on this album alone. Basically, what it was is, you know, Brian Wilson was done. He quit the Beach Boys. They kept touring without him. He wanted to make something that was his, that he made from front to back all on his own. And he told the production companies and the studio that, hey, I'm quitting or you let me do this. And they're like, okay. And they're like, how much money you want? He's like, all the money. All the money. It cost $70,000 to make it, which is about $660,000 in today's money. And it was the most expensive ever. It was the first time they used things like orchestras and French horns and flutes, theremins, string sections, soda cans. So essentially, a world without Pet Sounds would be a world without Led Zeppelin. It would be a world without things like Revolver and Sgt. Pepper's. In fact, Paul McCartney was quoted as saying, because of Pet Sounds, he created Sgt. Pepper's. You know, and these are some of the most amazing albums that have ever been made. And since then, this was also the first album where a musician had the rights to the original prints of the song, the original recordings, as opposed to the studio owning everything like they used to do. So, you know how I mentioned producers and stuff are how you got famous back then? Well, before Pet Sounds, it was people basically finding random musicians on the street and saying, you write me 32 songs, I'll give you this money. And it doesn't matter what the song's about. The studio will tell them everything they need to do and somebody else writes it for them. But Brian Wilson created this from the ground up and created a whole new dichotomy between the producers and the musicians themselves. And at first it was panned. People hated the album. It was too experimental, too off the wall. And now it's regarded as one of the best albums ever released. So it changed music as it is. And so my question to you guys is, what kind of albums do you guys feel are those kind of keystone albums that if they didn't exist, we wouldn't have music today as we know it?
That's a tough one.
Good question. Yeah.
Because nowadays we're
Throttle
not really
Junkies.
seeing Throttle Junkies.
Yeah, with Soil.
Wow, Soil. I haven't heard Soil in a long time. And what's your reasoning behind that?
I feel that it's very like Nickelback had some very similar songs to this, so I think they took a lot of inspiration from that in the beginning. Like Black Betty used just the audio, not so much the vocal, but the audio to that compared to like I'm trying to think of a good Nickelback song that's very similar to it.
Well, there's the problem is a
No,
good
but-
Nickelback song. That's the hard.
Yeah. What's the one?
You watch what you say about Nickelback, goddammit.
But yeah, I feel that Soil and that album had a lot of inspiration to other musicians.
Along the rock genre. Okay,
That's a good one for the comments section. Is what
I know, right?
what albums do
I-
you think changed
Yeah,
music?
because
What are these
that's something
keystone-
that's something I'm
keystone
gonna have
albums?
to think about. I wish you would have like actually like posted that question, so I would have had some time to think about it.
I wanted to
Because now I
surprise
have
you
to
guys.
think about it because
I
that's
wanted to surprise you guys.
because I wasn't
So-
expecting that. I wasn't expecting that question. So now I've got to like I don't know because there's so many albums that I
What
think,
about Appetite for Destruction?
Yeah, I would put that in there. Back in Black.
I think that's one. That's definitely gonna have to be one I'm gonna have to get. That's definitely gonna have to be one I have to get back to you on because that's a hard one to answer just off the top of my head. Because I have such a wide variety and genre of music that I listen to, so it's like it's hard to pinpoint exactly.
So there are a couple of albums I would put into this category. You know, starting with Pet Sounds and then into Sgt. Pepper's. I would say there's a handful of Led Zeppelin kind of albums you can put on there and argue, just Led Zeppelin in general. Michael Jackson released
Yeah,
Thriller. That's a keystone, absolutely a keystone album.
absolutely.
You know,
That I could definitely agree with.
Nevermind, Nirvana,
Mm-hmm.
a keystone album. It pioneered these new kinds of things. You could argue that when it comes to progressive rock, King Crimson released, I forget the name of the album, but it's the one with the amazing cover art on it with the like crazy looking dude and stuff. You would argue that when it comes to progressive music, that really is pushing the limit of things. But yeah, these albums change everything because then are people copying them or are they influenced by them? Are they stealing from them? You see that sometimes as well. And when you release an album like that, then it just blows everything up.
And then, like, you could say, not necessarily musically, but whenever Metallica released the Black album, they went from, like, that underground band that everyone loved to, like, oh, they're mainstream now and they're sellouts. So,
Yeah.
like, they kind of went more popular and less, like, underground with their
Saint
with their
Anger
music.
is a keystone for the opposite reason. Rumors by Fleetwood Mac, another keystone album that really changed how things are done and how music sounds.
I'm still gonna have to get back to you on that one. I'm definitely gonna get back to you on that one. But I want to turn that
Purple
over
Rain.
to our listeners. I want to get some feedback off that one. So the question is what albums, and it doesn't matter genre wise, but what albums do you think were key turning points in progressive music? And we want to hear from our listeners and our viewers what your opinions would be. And you can do this by either commenting on Spotify or commenting on YouTube. You could also send us an email, the Nameless Hour Podcast at gmail.com. You could also join our Discord at discord.gg/namelessgg. Well, we want to hear your answers. We want to hear what albums that you think that were big stepping stones into the progressiveness of the music industry and even music genres in general. Maybe we can have some good conversation with that and maybe even pull some of you up and let you kind of elaborate on your answers. But we want to wrap up here. You know, I appreciate you guys coming out. Skrewed, it's always a pleasure having you up here with us, brother. Unfortunately, we'd had to take off there, so.
Be gone.
But Penguin, I'm glad you came up, man. I'm glad you came up and hung out with us, and I hope to see you in some more episodes, man. If we ever come across topics or anything that we're coming up on or anything you're ever interested in talking about, don't ever hesitate to even put, you know, if you have a topic idea or something, we'll love to have you up again. We want to thank everybody that's come out and listened to us, that supported us in getting this whole thing up and going. We want to let those people know that have reached out to us regarding, you know, our episodes and even our last episode, saying how much, you know, it's helped them and how much they've been able to feel more comfortable about talking about some of the things that they're going through. That means a lot to us, and we appreciate every single person, you know, that stepped forward and had that confidence to step forward and say, hey, your guys' episode really touched me, and I was able to relate to, you know, that kind of stuff is why we do this. It's why we get on here. It's why we talk. It's why we, you know, have every now and then we have one of those episodes where we kind of dive into some of those, you know, that nostalgic feeling or start talking about some of the serious things in life. With that, we want to wrap up. We want to tell everyone that we appreciate everybody that comes out and listens to us and leaves those comments, shares our videos and stuff like that. It means a lot to us. And I can't thank everybody enough, but I appreciate you guys coming out and being here part with us tonight. And look forward to having you guys up again. We look forward to our next episode, which hopefully will be getting recorded here in the next week or two. And, you know, we'll keep everybody updated as we move along here. A little bit of a kind of a thing that I'm planning on doing is, you know, we're going to be coming up on our 10th episode here in a few episodes. So I kind of want to do something big for it. That's a good milestone for us. So if there's any ideas out there that some of our listeners have regarding our 10th episode, let us know. Shoot us a message, shoot us an email, comment on our YouTube or our Spotify, and let's hear from you. So appreciate everybody coming out. We hope everybody has a great night.